Deep in the English countryside stands one of the world's greatest mysteries, Stonehenge. For thousands of years, these giant stones have puzzled archaeologists, inspired myths, and captured imaginations. Was it a temple, a calendar, or something far stranger? Let's dive into its story, a monument that refuses to give up its secrets. This monument is over 5,000 years old, older than the pyramids of Egypt. And here's the crazy part. No one knows exactly why it was built. When you look at Stonehenge, the first question that pops into your head is, how on earth did they build this? No machines, no cranes, no trucks, yet those stones are still standing after thousands of years. The truth is, we don't know every detail, but archaeologists have pieced together some clever ideas. First, let's talk about the giant stones. The largest ones, called sarsens, came from a site about 30 kilometers away, weighing over 20 tons. The smaller stones, called bluestones, had to travel even farther, about 240 kilometers from the mountains of Wales. So how did they move them? Some experts think they used wooden sledges and rollers. Imagine laying logs under stone, rolling it forward, then moving the logs from the back to the front again. Slow, but it works. Others believe they dragged the stones on wooden sleds over grease tracks, like ancient railways. And there's even a theory that they floated the bluestones down rivers on rafts and boats. Once the stones arrived at the site, the real challenge began, getting them upright. Archaeologists think the builders dug a deep hole, tilted the stone into it, and then pulled it upright with ropes made of plant fibers and animal hides. They may have used teams of hundreds of people, all working together. The builders also shaped the stones on purpose. Using stone tools made of flint and other hard rocks, they chipped and carved them into the forms we see today. Some stones even have tiny carvings and marks, showing that the design was intentional, not random. And those iconic stone doorways at Stonehenge? That design wasn't accidental either. To place the top stone, called a lintel, on top of two standing stones, the builders may have built huge wooden ramps and then dragged the lintel up before sliding it into place. What's even more impressive is that the builders carved special joints into the stones, like giant pieces of Lego, to keep them locked together. That's why many of them are still standing, even after thousands of years of storms and erosion. It wasn't built overnight. It took several stages over more than 1,000 years. Generations of people worked on it, each adding new stones and improving the design. Experts estimate that building it may have taken millions of hours of human labor across centuries. Experiments today show that with enough teamwork, a group of just 20 to 30 people could move a large stone using ropes, wood, and simple tools. No aliens needed, just smart human engineering. Even though we've figured out some of the how, there are still mysteries left. Did they use water to soften the ground? Did they build wooden tracks? Or did they discover a method we haven't even imagined yet? What we do know is this: building Stonehenge was one of the greatest engineering projects of the ancient world. And the fact that it still stands today is proof of just how skilled and determined those people really were. For centuries, people have believed that Stonehenge was built by the Druids, the mysterious priests of ancient Celtic tribes. But here's the twist: that story isn't true. The idea came from the 1600s, when a man named John Aubrey, an early archaeologist, studied it. He thought it matched what little he knew about the Druids, so he linked them together. Later, another scholar, William Stukeley, spread this idea even more, and soon everybody believed it. But modern science tells a different story. Archaeologists discovered that it was built thousands of years before the Druids even existed. The Druids lived during the Iron Age, around 2,000 years ago, but Stonehenge was already standing tall long before that. So why do people still connect Druids with it? Well, it's partly because of the romantic image of Druids: wise, secretive, and deeply connected to nature. In the 1700s and 1800s, people loved imagining them performing ceremonies among the stones. And here's where it gets interesting. Even though the Druids didn't build it, they may have used it later. When they appeared in Britain, Stonehenge was already an ancient monument, and it's possible they saw it as a sacred place and held rituals there. For them, it's a way of connecting with ancient traditions, even if they weren't the original builders. In the 19th century, people actually staged fake Druid ceremonies at Stonehenge for tourists, just to make it feel more magical. This helped cement the idea in popular culture that Stonehenge equals Druids. So, the truth is simple. The Druids didn't build it, but their legend became part of its story. And maybe that's the beauty of it, such a powerful and mysterious place that people from different times, cultures, and beliefs all wanted to claim it as their own. And that's because Stonehenge isn't just a circle of rocks, it's a masterpiece of ancient engineering and meaning, far more complex than it first appears. It's like an ancient tool for watching the sky, built long before telescopes or star maps existed. The stones are carefully placed to line up with the movements of the sun. On the summer solstice, the longest day of the year, the sun rises in a perfect spot above the famous heel stone, which itself weighs about 35 tons. On the winter solstice, the shortest day, the sun sets in line with the stones on the opposite side. This wasn't an accident. Whoever built it clearly understood the patterns of the sun. To them, the sky was like a giant clock, and Stonehenge may have been the machine that tracked it. In fact, some of the stones are arranged in a horseshoe shape that points directly at the solstice sunrise. But why was this so important? In ancient times, knowing when the seasons changed was the difference between life and death. Farmers needed to know the best time to plant and harvest crops. It may have acted like a calendar made of stone, helping them keep track of time. The idea of Stonehenge as a calendar was first suggested in the 18th century, and modern research continues to support it. Some researchers also think it was used to predict eclipses or other rare events in the sky. While we can't prove it for sure, it's clear that the builders had an impressive understanding of astronomy. And here's something amazing. The layout of Stonehenge matches patterns seen in the moon's 18.6-year cycle. That means the builders were not only watching the sun, but also carefully following the moon. Today, thousands of people still gather at it during the summer and winter solstices. Just like ancient people, they watch the sunrise and sunset, celebrating the turning points of the year. What's even more fascinating is that Stonehenge wasn't alone. Underground surveys revealed that the area around it was once filled with wooden posts, ditches, and smaller stone circles, many now vanished, that aligned with the movements of the sun and moon. Together, they created a vast sacred landscape, almost like a giant outdoor laboratory for studying the heavens. So while we may never know exactly what the builders were thinking, one thing is certain. Stonehenge proves that ancient people were far more advanced in astronomy than we often give them credit for. When most people look at this ancient circle, they only see the giant rocks standing above ground. But some of the biggest mysteries actually lie beneath the surface. Archaeologists have discovered that the area under and around the monument is filled with secrets. They've uncovered dozens of burial mounds, some containing human remains that date back thousands of years. This suggests that the site wasn't just a gathering place. It may have also been a giant cemetery. Even more surprising, scientists found the remains of cremated bodies buried in small pits around the circle. These may be some of the earliest cremations ever discovered in Britain. Whoever was buried here was likely someone powerful or sacred. In recent years, advanced scanning technology uncovered traces of giant pits forming a huge circle around the area, almost invisible to the naked eye. No one knows exactly what they were for, but they may have marked sacred boundaries or guided processions. Even the tools tell a story. Archaeologists found digging tools made of deer antlers buried in the soil, likely used to carve out the enormous holes where the stones were placed. Finding them underground suggests they were left there on purpose, possibly as offerings. Animal bones have also been discovered nearby, evidence of huge feasts where entire communities gathered. People may have traveled long distances to join these celebrations, combining ritual, food, and ceremony all in one place. And here's the fascinating part. Many of these underground features were carefully planned. The builders weren't just stacking rocks, they were designing an entire ceremonial complex, part above ground and part hidden below. So when you stand in front of those towering stones, remember, what you see is only half the story. Beneath the surface lies a hidden world of burials, rituals, tools, and structures that still whisper secrets from thousands of years ago. For centuries, it has inspired stories, legends, books, movies, and even songs. Writers have long been fascinated by it. In the 12th century, the historian Geoffrey of Monmouth claimed that the wizard Merlin magically transported the stones from Ireland. According to the story, giants first brought the stones from Africa to Ireland, and then Merlin brought them across the sea. That story may sound like a fairy tale, but it's proof of how deeply this circle captured people's imagination. Fast forward to modern times, and the monument is everywhere in popular culture. It's been featured in movies like Thor, The Dark World, shows like Doctor Who, and even in cartoons such as The Simpsons. It has a way of popping up whenever mystery or ancient power is involved. Music hasn't ignored it either. The famous rock band Spinal Tap made a parody song about the Stones, while many other bands have used the monument as a symbol of mystery, power, or ancient wisdom. And here's something fun. The site has even appeared in video games. From Assassin's Creed Valhalla to Tomb Raider, players can explore their own virtual version of the circle. Even advertising and logos have borrowed their image. Its iconic shape has been used to sell everything from travel brochures to beer. That shows how powerful and recognizable the monument has become worldwide. What makes it so popular? Maybe it's the mystery. Maybe it's the way it connects us to something ancient and unknown. Or maybe it's simply because those giant stones look so otherworldly that we can't help but wonder about them. Whatever the reason, this ancient circle has gone far beyond history books. It has become a symbol of mystery in modern culture. For thousands of years, people have spun stories to explain how this mysterious circle came to be. Since the truth was unknown, legends filled the gap, and some of them are as fascinating as the stones themselves. A legend says the stones were built by giants themselves. Some stories even claimed the circle had healing powers, with the stones magically curing illness and injury. This idea may not be so far-fetched, since archaeologists have found human remains showing signs of disease and injury buried nearby. A folk tale, with origins no earlier than the 17th century, tells that the devil bought the stones from an old woman in Ireland, wrapped them up, and carried them to Salisbury Plain. One stone fell into the Avon River, while the rest were dropped on the plain. The devil then boasted, "No one will ever find out how these stones came here." Upon hearing this, a friar replied, "That's what you think." Enraged, the devil hurled one of the stones at the friar, striking him on the heel, and that stone, the heel stone, remains there to this day. Other myths say the stones move on their own. Some believe they walked down to a river to drink water at midnight, while others swore they could hear the stones singing on quiet nights. And of course, no great mystery would be complete without alien theories. Some modern legends suggest the circle was built by visitors from another world, or that the stones were landing markers for UFOs. There's no evidence for this, but it shows how powerful the mystery remains in our imagination. What's amazing is that these stories stretch across time. From medieval wizards to giants, from the devil to aliens, every generation has created its own explanation. And maybe that's part of the monument's magic. When the truth is hidden, myths will always step in to fill the silence. When we admire this ancient circle, it's easy to forget the most important part of the story: the people who built it. Who were they, and what was life like for them thousands of years ago? The builders were Neolithic people living in Britain during the New Stone Age, over 4,500 years ago. They didn't have metal tools, wheels, or advanced technology. Yet with determination, teamwork, and clever thinking, they created one of the world's most famous monuments. These were farming communities. They lived in small wooden houses with thatched roofs, raised cattle and sheep, and grew crops like wheat and barley. They made pottery, cooked meals over open fires, and shared food during community gatherings. Life was simple, but these people were skilled, resourceful, and deeply connected to the land. Archaeological evidence shows the site brought people together from across Britain. Remains of pigs and cattle reveal that huge feasts were held, with animals brought from hundreds of miles away. This wasn't just about building, it was a national event, a mix of ceremony, celebration, and cooperation. Modern science gives us even more clues. DNA studies show the builders were descended from Europe's first farmers, and isotope testing reveals some individuals had traveled long distances to be part of the project. That means the monument wasn't only local. It was a magnet for people from far and wide. These Neolithic builders weren't just laborers. They were engineers, organizers, and believers. For them, raising these stones wasn't only about strength, it was about faith, identity, and leaving something that would last for generations. Burials around the site hint that some of them, perhaps the leaders or respected elders, were laid to rest there. In this way, their lives and deaths became part of the circle story. So who built it? Neolithic farmers, herders, and families, ordinary people who lived off the land, yet achieved something extraordinary. Their names may be forgotten, but their work still speaks across the ages. It is visited by more than 1 million people every year. On ordinary days, visitors walk the path around it, keeping a respectful distance. But twice a year, during the summer and winter solstices, something remarkable happens. The barriers open, and crowds step inside the circle to welcome the rising or setting sun. You're not allowed to touch the stones, but standing among them as the light cuts across the horizon feels like stepping back into the world of the people who built it. It's as if the monument awakens, just for a moment, to remind us of its purpose. Meanwhile, science is uncovering more secrets than ever. Using tools like drones, laser scanning, and ground-penetrating radar, researchers have revealed hidden pits, ditches, and even traces of long-lost monuments buried in the landscape. These discoveries prove that the circle was only the centerpiece of a much larger sacred complex, far bigger and more connected than anyone imagined. And in the modern world, it has grown into something more than archaeology. It appears in films, music, books, and even protests. It's a spiritual site for some, a tourist destination for others, and a symbol of human imagination for everyone. Few places manage to carry so many roles at once. So in the end, the circle isn't just about the past, it's about continuity. Built by Neolithic hands, reshaped by later generations, studied by scientists, and celebrated by crowds today. It stands as a bridge across time, reminding us that even after thousands of years, mystery still has the power to move us.